14, welcome back to Go. Since the beginning of the year, the Trump administration has cut federal funding to the National Institutes of Health by nearly $3 billion. This leading to the end of dozens of grants and more than 100 clinical trials for cancer and other diseases. Next year's budget proposes another 40% in cuts. What does this mean for medical research in Northeast Ohio? Senior health correspondent Monica Robbins explains.
Dr. Teknos, thank you so much for joining us. You know, we've heard so much about cuts to clinical trials and everything else that's going on right now. So what is the current state of funding for research and clinical trials right now?
You know, it's a ever evolving environment, Monica. It's, there's no question it's been very stressful because there's been a lot of uncertainty, but fortunately, the NIH and the NCI actually maintain their funding levels. And that has allowed us to at least have some certainty. So the clinical trial portfolio for university hospitals has remained very, vibrant. And we've actually been able to expand our clinical trial portfolio despite, these challenges that have been coming from Washington. And many of our trials are not only funded through the government, but also through, private pharma institutions and foundations as well. So it's certainly been a little rocky, but I think we've been very fortunate to maintain our funding levels.
When you talk about those challenges, though, and you talk about private donors, how important are they right now?
Even though the funding level from the NIH has been maintained, there are so many more scientists and so much more research that needs to be done that the pay line for NIH grants is dropped to only about 8% of grants being funded. So that leaves a huge gap of really important studies that the government won't fund or can't fund under current conditions. So we rely heavily then on our donors to make up the difference and to provide funding to really allow us to do those high risk, high reward clinical trials. So that's why a gift like Miss Kathy Coleman's is so important. As you know, she very generously gave an additional gift of $3.4 million to expand the Les and Kathy Coleman Clinical Research Unit at university hospitals.
What is the biggest thing in research at university hospitals that you're most excited to see come out?
What really excites me about the clinical trials that we have going now is really the synergy between our National Center for Regenerative Medicine, which is in partnership with Case Comprehensive Cancer Center, and the Wesley Center for Immunotherapy. That center was created doubling the size of our capabilities to deliver cellular therapies to patients. So we have numerous very novel CAR-T clinical trials that have started at university hospitals that really has led us as a national leader in this field. Another thing that really excites me is this kind of burgeoning field of what's called theranostics, whereby an antibody is attached to a tumor, and you can attach to the antibody either something to image the tumor or radiation to be delivered to the tumor specifically, sparing normal tissues. So these theranostic studies are really the next phase of really science fiction, if you will, for cancer care. This donation, Monica, is going to allow us to expand the footprint of our clinical trial space. For individuals who live a distance away, for individuals who don't have the means to travel, we're going to be opening many more clinical trial sites in their communities. We have one of the leading phase 1 programs in the nation, which is the first time patients receive a drug in any capacity and test for its safety and efficacy. So we're going to open phase 1 trials in the community so patients can actually have access to these cutting edge trials near their homes where we know they're going to heal better and have greater support.
Is that normal in a clinical trial? Is that typically done?
No, this would be something unique. I think, again, because these are complex trials, they tend to have to travel to the ivory tower to get these studies, but we're going to use Kathy's donation to really reach out to the communities and and set up these unique and very important trials where they live.
Dr. Teknos, as always, thank you so much for your time and thank you for your clarity.
Thank you, Monica. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.